gave me some great advice. He said, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. The words to live by. Welcome to the February 28th meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm Barry Barker, president of the club. The lead us in our invocation is James Kelly, executive director of Legal Shield Incorporated.
Good morning. Good afternoon now. Let's bow our heads. Thank you for this time.
Alice is a principal of AOB Consulting, past president, chair of our membership development committee, and a Paul Harris fellow. Alice.
Thank you so much. It's my honor to introduce our guest speaker today, Laura Freeman. Laura is a Kentucky native agricultural entrepreneur. She's best known for introducing Laura's Lean Beef in 1985, an antibiotic and growth hormone-free product. Today, she is once again at the forefront of an ag movement, spearheading the burgeoning hemp industry in eastern Kentucky. Born and raised in Winchester, Kentucky, Laura was a philosophy major at Duke. I'm sure that's coming handy. Graduated in the late 1970s and got a job as a newspaper reporter in Anniston, Alabama. She got into agriculture to save the family farm, taking over the 1,200-acre Mount Folly Farm in Winchester, now the hub of her most recent enterprise. After a serious horseback riding accident in 2005, Laura experimented with CBD for pain and arthritis. The results were astounding, so she decided to grow it herself. At Mount Folly, Laura's team grows hemp and hemp CBD on organic soil. This crop goes into her Laura's hemp chocolates and Homestead Alternatives full spectrum hemp CBD products available online and in local stores, or see Norb and he'll set you up. In fact, Laura never met a problem that didn't get her going. From industrial farming to climate change, she sees possibilities where others see catastrophe. Though she is a little pessimistic about reaching a solution to climate pollution in time, she is by nature a cheerful, practical warrior. What else are you going to do, she says? You've got to try. Her plans to push onward include organic farming, hemp, and reinventing the regional economy. And I learned at our table today she's a little bit of Rotary royalty with family members in the Rotary Club in Winchester today, but also a great-great-grandfather who visited the Queen of England on behalf of Rotary back in the 1920s. So she's got her street cred with this crowd. She's titled her talk today, Function in Disaster, Finish in Style, her high school motto, and an apt description for her life and work. Please join me in welcoming Laura Freeman.
Let's see if I get this thing. All right, is this coming out loud enough? All right.
Oh, sir.
Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here I am with function, disaster, finish, and style. Got turned on, nope. There you go. Yeah. Okay, some motto in it. Function, disaster, finish, and style was the motto of my girls' boarding school. And back then, our ideas of disasters were the wrong dress at the prom, the bad breakup, or the calculus exam. And believe me, brain freezes were a constant on that one. But my disasters of my working life were a little more serious. The first one, which actually was pretty funny, was being kicked off the bus. Then the farm crisis of the 1980s, and both of those led to the founding of Laura's Lean Beef. And then the horseback riding smash up led to Homestead Alternatives and the chocolates. Okay, think back. Imagine it's 1982. And I'm just married, and my parents are taking me and my husband to Denver, Colorado for the National Cattlemen's Association meeting. It was pretty macho deal. You see their belt buckle. So my mother and I go to register for the bus tour. And they said, "You can't go on the bus tour. You're a cowbell." So we went to a fashion show instead. What did the guys get to see? They got to see the Monfort feedlot, 100,000 head of cattle on feed. While Mother and I were looking at dresses that were, I think, probably knee-length. If I hadn't been kicked off the bus, I would have been trying to be one of the guys and ha ha ha, and look at all those cattle and it's low-cost protein, but I was kicked off the bus. So when it's all over, I got my new husband, who back then would do what I said I wanted to do, to take me out to see this thing, and I was like, holy moly! If anybody saw this, they would want to eat beef. I mean, I predated Oprah about 15 years easy, maybe 20. And I also was a big reader, and I'd read Jonathan Shell in the New Yorker, and his brother Orville had written a book called Modern Meat, talking about antibiotics. So I started a natural beef company. No antibiotics, no growth hormones. There was a problem though. Was it a disaster? It could have been because we were broke. It didn't sell. So in the time I was working on this, the function was on fat. Everybody wanted to be low fat, lose weight, and so I made it large lean beef, raised with no antibiotics, no growth hormones, and bingo, I had it. It sold. So I incorporated it, and off I went. At that point, the job was making a company, and the pictures that you see on the right are of my first TV commercial. And there was Fred Ziegler, who had his advertising agency was in Louisville, and we made a commercial, got my daughter to run up the hill, and it was from the family farms of Kentucky comes Laura's lean beef. And so I had advertising, I got a store in Lexington, I had to raise some money. I borrowed, with $60,000 in capital, I borrowed $1 million. They had no idea what was happening to them. And I thought it was pretty damn good. And, but then I had to get a partner, which I did, and then it was just work and grit. By 2005, I was distributed in 48 states. I was on an airplane every week. We were by far the premier brand in the natural beef world. And the farm was the centerpiece of the whole thing. But then disaster struck. I was a pretty good horseback rider. And I'd actually had my shoulder operated on, and I was riding in a sling by myself, and the horse was, a 3-year-old could ride this horse. Well, maybe I couldn't. And I don't remember what happened. I think it spun me off, but I wound up at Cardinal Hospital with a serious injury. I was almost a quadriplegic. I mean, I was a quarter inch from it. And I had a long recovery. It was cerebellum injury, so my cognition was as good as it's going to get. But I had no coordination. I could not swallow. I could not type. I couldn't walk. It was a big comeback. So, what did I do? Well, we put the company up for sale immediately, of course. I liquidated the cow herd. I rented the farm out, and that didn't work out, so then my daughter came to run it. We did get the company sold. I moved to Massachusetts. I bought a farm there. I thought, I'm going to be around a lot of smart people. I'm going to like this. In fact, I was a Danilo Meadows Scholar at MIT, which was about the climate system, and there's some reference to this in the brochures that are on your table. But I didn't like Massachusetts at all. I didn't like it at all. So, and meanwhile though, my daughter was a farmer, so I started having a lot of reason to come back here. But I've got to say, this kid, she hit the two high buttons right. She got the farm certified organic, and we're now one of the largest organic farms in the state. And she got us in the HIP program. Now, to get us in the HIP program, she had to call me. And so she called up. I remember very well where I was. Picked up the phone. What do you want to do, Alice? I want to be in the HIP program. I thought we were going to raise rope. And, I mean, these were the pictures I grew up with. Paul Sawyer, the hemp breaker, and this contraption where they were trying to take the herd out of hemp in the 20s, I think. And we weren't. We were going to raise grain. So, okay, we're going to raise organic hemp grain. And so they planted it. Ben was one of the first people out there planting the stuff. And the yield, it wasn't bad. It was terrible. So, what am I going to do? I mean, I'm literally talking about getting 100 pounds of hemp out of this whole 13-acre field. I thought, I've been in the healthy beef business. Let's see if I can get in the healthy candy business. And hemp has got all these fantastic nutritional benefits. And so I made hemp chocolate, dark chocolate because it's better for you. I made some with dried cranberries because they're antioxidants. And it worked. Now, what you see on the right was what I was making with an intern. There we all are trying to sell this stuff in the fall of 2015. We're at the farmer's market. And here we are in 2019. Now, between 2015 and 2019, I got Ruth Hunt basically to make it. And they're from Mount Sterling. And so I really do encourage you all to take all your bags and split them up at your table, or somebody take them home, because they're to be taken home. But we're now in Liquor Barn, we're in Kroger, and we're in Rainbow Blossom. And we sell online. So we've covered the hemp fiber. Remember Paul Sawyer the breaker. We've covered hemp grain, which got fantastic nutritional benefits that are outlined on the back of the package. And now there's a third kind of hemp, CBD hemp. Okay, remember back to old function, disaster, efficient style. You know, I looked fine, but I still didn't feel great. I mean, I had some what's called neuropathic pain, basically a full body ache, and I thought, well, I'm just going to have to live with this for the rest of my life. And then a friend sent me an NIH patent, which is I'm going to come back to. But I read this thing. I said, whoa, we got to grow this. And so off we went. So, I mean, Ben is now running the farm, and we've got some old tobacco equipment, and we get our clones, and those are little hemp plants up there on the to the right on your screen. And we use a tobacco setter, and off we are growing CBD hemp. And we harvested CBD hemp, and we used our tobacco barns. And, you know, this is something that you can't talk about nationally. I mean, we, Wendellberry, got in bad trouble talking about the wonderful tobacco culture, but it really is wonderful. And I have to tell you all who understand that when we got to hanging that hemp in the old tobacco barn, I mean, people were crying to be able to do this again. It really means a lot to everybody. Okay, so we raised it, and we got it hanging in the barn. What are we going to do with this stuff? Well, remember, we've got I've read the patent, and I've started to read some more scientific material. And I'm just going to read you the highlights of this patent. Antioxidants, heart attacks, neuroprotectants, neurodegenerative diseases, and there's no toxicity. Wow, it was really something. But I had the chocolate, and CBD is more highly regulated than the hemp seed. The reason is it has a little THC in it. So it's basically marijuana with very low amount of THC. And so I need a new brand. So we made the Homestead brand, and it's based on a real place. And from Clyde Lancaster drawing of it in the, I guess, early 80s to the current Homestead to, in June, we're going to introduce Kevin Osborne's picture of the Homestead. So a real place, not a made-up brand. And here are our products. We've got what they call an extract. We make candy. You've got some on your place. You've got 20 milligrams CBD for candy. We make lotions. We make all kinds of stuff. And we're about to come out with CBD chocolate. Okay, so the idea is to build a regional economy, and I'm doing that because I love Kentucky and also because I'm an environmentalist. But to really get big sales, like the largest beef company had 135 million when we sold it. I'm going to need to build the sales nationally, so we started an online store, which also has a whole lot of information on it. And we're trying to make Winchester the center of the state's hemp economy. We have Gincana, we have Italo, and we have us. So we're having a Harvest Festival on the 5th and 6th, and we invite all of y'all to come, and we're going to have a big party. Okay, remember I told you I was Danella Bennett's fellow at MIT, and they kind of are working on the climate system. And so they said, go back to East Kentucky and fix it. And I don't know what to do, but obviously you've got to have a different economy. You've got to. You can't just throw these people out of work. It's ridiculous. So the first thing I thought of was whiskey and moonshine. And maybe it's not the world's greatest idea, but it's an idea. And I trademarked quickly the Moonshine Trail. Now the Bourbon Trail, they didn't particularly like it, but I got it. And no, they really did fight a little bit. But we are pressing east. We're going toward East Kentucky. Our first product is going to be sweet potato vodka grown with East Kentucky sweet potatoes. It will be open this fall. And here I am handing the keys to this distillery to Ben and my husband. And the problem's on them now. I don't drink, so the problem's on them. So all of this is part of the business plan, and like I say, we feel great. We can pull this off because we're hemp powered. So that's basically the speech. And you all got the brochures, you got the packages. I'm here to take a few questions.
Explain about the acreage expansion from last year to this year.
Sure, okay, Kevin's asked about our expansion of acreage. We are quadrupling our acreage in hemp CBD, and we are going to do some high tunnel greenhouse grows through the summer. This plant is very it's photosensitive, there you go. So I've got to darken it down to make it produce the cannabinoids. And we're going to do this experimentally this summer. So we're definitely producing a lot more.
Is this open? My name is John Clark. I'm feeling very good. I just had a bag. My question is CBD oil. I had an in-law that had a glioblastoma in Boston, Mass. Put her through all sorts of chemotherapy or whatever.
Sure.
And she was a marijuana user. And she told him to kind of go away because she was doing a lot better with smoking marijuana and using CBD products. And her doctor was absolutely blown away by how well she did with that. I'm just curious if you have explored this with your products and with the connections that you have, and if maybe some of these medical types in this organization might be able to address that today. I bet there are a few of them out here that have explored and looked at it. But I think it's a wonderful product just based on my own personal experience.
Yeah, yes, and I agree with you. Right now, we're in regulatory limbo with CBD. As we all know, McConnell got, or I think you all know, McConnell got it legalized officially through the Farm Bill, including CBD and cannabis extracts. And everybody thought, oh, it's going to be easy sailing, but boom, the next day the FDA came out with, no, we're going to regulate this, and everything is ground to a halt. We can't advertise Google Ads, we can't advertise on Facebook. PayPal shut our account down. It's gotten worse, not better, and we're not really sure why. I'm actually going to Washington in 2 weeks to do a little, not lobbying, but fact-finding about it. And because of this, we're prohibited from using any testimonials on our literature. And all I can do is put up peer-reviewed articles. I haven't gotten in any trouble for that. But the stories, anecdotal stories of just doing better with cancer there are plenty of them. And mine, I mean, guys, I felt, just like ached all over. And I took this stuff, and in a week, I didn't ache. It's been the most unbelievable thing ever. And why? It's because your endocannabinoid receptors in your brain, basically. But there's not a whole lot of research. Plus, everybody's a little worried the pharmaceutical companies are going to come in and take it away from farmers, which obviously we don't want to have happen. So we are firmly behind full spectrum CBD, and we can talk a little bit more about that in a second after a question.
I'm Harry Stevenson, and can you tell a difference in growing hemp or marijuana? I know it's a real problem from looking the field, and how can you tell a difference in it?
The question is, how do we tell a difference from our hemp and marijuana? The first thing, we have all this outlined very carefully on the website under hemp, and then we've got our process. The first thing you do is you are careful on your clones, and you make sure you get a clone that has not gotten anybody in any trouble. It's not a plant it's not a problematic plant according to KDA. Then KDA comes and tests it. And of course you have to open your farm to the inspectors, to the state troopers, but visually there's not a lot of difference. So you have signs on and stuff, but look at the plant, not so much. It has to get tested. And these plants are highly tested before they're harvested. What? You got another?
Another Blakemore. You mentioned the regulations kind of slowing things down. Independent of that, as this industry emerges, where is Kentucky in the pecking order? Are we kind of leading the pack, in the middle of the pack, behind? And if, so that's one part, where is kind of Kentucky in this industry? If the regulations are resolved, how big could the overall industry be?
Okay, so the regulatory environment will get resolved one way or the other. It's just the government is slow. Hemp is a global market. Let's start there. They've been raising this stuff in China for quite a while. They're raising it in Germany. So it's not going to be something where you can have a restricted supply like the old tobacco program. However, we are getting an infrastructure in Kentucky. For example, our extractor is called Zelios. They're from Portland. They're from basically the marijuana business, but they come into Lexington. They put in the biggest extraction facility that any of us have ever seen. They can extract all the hemp garden in Kentucky in a couple of weeks right now. So you've got the infrastructure building up, and that should give us some distance on it. But it's going to be a global competition.
Any more questions? This brings back my college days. And I know about that brain freeze on the calculus test. Thank you very much. Stop by and see Craig Sherman, Tanya Hatzman, and Angie McCoy, talking about licenses and so on and so forth. And see you all next week at the Muhammad Ali.